Okay, everyone, the webinar is now recording. Let's begin. Before we start all of our webinars, we have to give you the standard disclaimer that Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor. Please understand that all of the information that you're going to be receiving on this webinar from myself and Steve is for educational and informational purposes only and not to be construed as a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. And with that, let's begin. A quick introduction to myself. I'm the CEO of Trade Ideas, and I've been in this business for a very, very long time. Just if you want to see exactly how long, Steve, this picture goes back to 1996, and then Steve and I met 2 years later. This is me on the way to my first $1 million in the stock market. And I feel like I look very similar, Steve. Honestly, maybe a little less hair, but everything else is pretty much the same.
Well, with the Rhodesian Ridgebacks at your shotgun too, that's pretty standard for today as well.
That's right. It's a long-standing tradition. So the idea here is I just want you to know that you're dealing with someone who knows what they're doing. We have a lot of experience in this, and it's not just from being business people. Unlike so many vendors out there, I've been investing for myself and creating technology for that as long as it's been around. One of the exciting things that we want to tell you is that because of what you're about to see today, this last button, we are the fastest growing financial subscription service in the United States. And we're going to show you why that's the case, and I think it's going to be very, very exciting. So, Steve, this is something that a lot of investors don't really know because there's so much psychology and kind of genetics that goes into this problem. We are terrible at figuring out what is or isn't going to work in the financial markets. And the reason is because we're programmed through billions of years of evolution for a type of pattern recognition that isn't applicable to the stock market. You want to look at your daughter and quickly recognize your daughter. You want to look at your dog and understand its expression and see if it's a threat to you or if it's not a threat to you. But those situations visually do not translate well to a two-dimensional graph of a stock price. The problem is you just don't know it. But it's not a secret. And that's one of the reasons why people invented things like buy and hold and all those other things. They've failed so many times, they've just completely given up on investing. But that's not why you're here. You're here because you want to learn the truth. So what stands in your way is the typical things, the fact that you want to do well, which is your ego. When you don't do well, you get scared. And it's very difficult in the market to really understand the forest through the trees. I mean, look at what just happened with this British exit. In theory, do you know what actually happened? Nothing. Steve, isn't it interesting? Like, there was this vote, but the vote didn't mean that, hey, the Brexit just took place. The vote was on a referendum, and there's like 2 years to figure things out, but the panic was instant. And that
was a great excuse to reset the market.
That's right. That's right. But this market activity, when you try to then figure out the logic behind it, what you could clearly start to see is that there is no why many times. And that's something that, again, stands in the way of our normal thinking. We as humans, we like to believe that there's always a why. But the why is a very difficult thing, and it's costly if you spend too much time trying to delve on it. So the best things that we do, and this slide, Steve, was one of my kind of favorite simple slides because there's so much in it if you really understand what we're trying to say. And there's a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell that really kind of talks about the psychology about this, and I would love for you guys to take a look at it. But the idea is this: humans do our best thinking instantly. And what I mean by that is the situational kind of thinking. When you have to make decisions, you do your best decisions when you don't really spend too much time thinking about it. Steve, I'm going to remind you, do you remember back when dinosaurs ruled the world and you and I prepared for something called the standardized scholastic aptitude test, the SAT? You remember that? It was a terrible test, but one of the things they always said, go with your first mind. Do you remember that's
Right.
often a tech?
Go with your gut instinct. Your gut. Go with your gut. Your gut is usually right.
Right, but what they also mean by that is don't keep thinking about how to do it. If you got it, you got it. If not, move on. But in stocks and investing, it's actually the opposite. And again, this is why I have to linger on this slide. We see people drawing so many lines on their charts or going through time tables on Excel spreadsheets trying to figure out some sort of fundamental thesis. It's a complete waste of time in today's hyper efficient communicative market. So
Over analysis paralysis. Is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
absolutely. But we're a prisoner of our own thoughts because we need to figure it out. But that's not how professionals do it. Whether you're Tiger Woods or Roger Federer or Wayne Gretzky back in, again in the day, or whoever is it, or LeBron James, athletes who succeed at the best level, they do it through practice, but then during the game, it's game time, okay? You practice is your simulation. You keep, LeBron James practices jump shots and free throws over and over and over again so that when he has to do it during a game, he doesn't have to think about it. He just does it, right? Well, as it turns out, that's the same thing that we have to do in the stock market. But the problem is this. How long would it take you to analyze 1 million trades or a million charts? You would actually have to stay up all year to do it. It would be so time consuming that it's impossible to do without any help. And that was our approach to solving the biggest problem of the individual investor. The problem is, what do you buy? What do you sell, and why? Since we started our company, we've been creating incremental pieces of this technology. We didn't even know what we were creating, Steve. I mean, isn't that interesting? We started with just a tool where we wanted to be alerted to interesting information. Then over the years, it took us 5 years to create our specific kind of testing environment where we could test our scenarios and see if they were real and apply them to the market. But the market evolved so fast, we realized that a human couldn't even do that anymore because it was too time consuming to do by yourself. So we created an artificial intelligence engine that takes all of this data, processes it, goes through it like the MIT card counting team, and helps us figure out what to do. So making money in the stock market, a lot of people have different opinions on it, and usually every single one of them is wrong. You will hear individual investors, Steve, and you did this too, and I know I did it when I started. Everyone talks about like, well, you know what? I need volume. Now, of course, you need some volume. There's no question. I'm not advocating trading things that trade 1,000 or 5,000 shares. But an individual investor is very confused about what volume requirements are needed and how much that hurts them in terms of figuring out where to find opportunities. So what happens is this. You find everybody doing the same things. FANG, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google. All those stocks, everybody's already in them. They're so big. They're so heavily capitalized. They trade so much, but you're swimming with sharks. You're swimming with the institutions, with the HFT players, everybody. But there's these other stocks that are out there that have the kind of movement potential that you're just not going to hear about on CNBC. And the whole point is, as the stock says, it's not about trading the FANG stocks or finding one stock and trading it. It's about finding the situation and then exploiting that situation. And that's what we do with the Trade Ideas Artificial Intelligence. It's about finding that situation over and over again, the statistics, and then taking the kind of position in it that lets you get the kind of percentages that you don't hear about on CNBC. These were all actual real trades that I did myself, and I do this day in and day out to basically to do R&D. Steve, that's just like yourself, what's really nice about our company is it's built by and still one of the only few companies where the management is actively involved in the market, so that we're never sitting there wondering why it is that people can't relate to what we do with our technology. We are here to help you beat the market. Steve's been doing it since 1998. I've been doing it since 1995. And almost everybody in our organization has empathy to what it is that you are trying to do. We're there.
Well, yeah. Let me add. I mean, myself, I'm user number 3, user number 03 in the system. So I was there when Dan came to me and said, "Steve, what would be the coolest alert scenario that you'd want?" And I gave him a few ideas, and I'll be darned, they delivered. And then shortly thereafter, my longtime trading business partner, Andy Lindelof, he's user number 40. He's just been brought into the fold here at Trade Ideas to absorb the tremendous amount of new subscription parabolic growth that we're having. And so Dan will talk a little bit more about how we do a lot to onboard and create a concierge service. And like Dan says, these are people that not only know the product, but know the market and know the psychology of trading. Been there, been what you're doing, understand what you're doing. So it's a unique fit, and it's a very unique group.
Absolutely, and Steve, it's like you said, it's having people understand that we are not here to have you figure it out. We've figured it out. That's the difference between us and everybody else. We don't want to give you tools and indicators and trend lines. We have a technology that gives you odds and actual suggestions. It's up to you to take them. That's why we're the fastest growing software technology subscription service in fintech. It's an incredible honor, but we're the only ones that have a consumer-facing artificial intelligence, and you can get going in 3 minutes. That's it. You install, we have a channel bar, and by the way, we're going to show you all this, and we're going to show you what the AI did today. So again, this is the best technology for individual investors that want to really become active speculators that, and by the way, speculation is not a bad word. That's what all of us are doing. We speculate in the stock market, and you should be happy to do it, because in the stock market, unlike in real estate or everywhere else, if we make a mistake, we get out. And by the way, our technology does that as well. So what this webinar is about, it's an introduction. We're going to show you all of our tech. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're going to give you a full demonstration, but we also want to give you a way to possibly get all of our services for free by having our technology pay for itself. This is one of our fastest growing services, and if you go to this link, trade-ideas.com free, you get to sign up for our Trade of the Week, which is one of our algorithms used by our artificial intelligence that then is looked over by Steve to make sure that it passes the human muster as well for a longer term hold. And we give everyone this trade. Steve, it comes out on Monday, I believe, right? Monday morning?
It comes out Monday pre-market, but it's usually being kicked around starting on Friday. We're looking at the way the data closed up on Friday, making a short list of stocks and symbols that are showing up on our scans. And then we actually, kick it around personally on the weekend. Andy, Dan, Jamie, myself, we all kind of whittle it down, and then it's going to be in your email box prior to the opening on Monday mornings.
Right. It's kind of like the merger of two technologies. It's the AI that gives us the scaffolding, the names that are setting up, and then we use our human experience to really say, here's what we say is the trade of the week. And I believe, again, and Steve and I will go over it, but it was Facebook this week, and it was an incredibly good setup. But of course, we were also fortunate to catch the counter of the Brexit. Either way, many people were able to pay for the Trade Ideas service for free through this Trade of the Week. So again, trade-ideas.com/free. So the other thing that Steve mentioned is the onboarding. We consider active speculation an art form, and we also believe it's more than just a service. It's an experience. And the best way to have this experience is through sharing ideas, not simply with just the technology, but kind of with a crowdsource of people who are actively doing the same thing. So we have one of the most active investing communities, and every morning from the open to the close, between 300 to 400 people engage in this room, and this room is free. Okay, it's the Trade Ideas trading room. It's a free room, and we'll give you the link for that as well later. And there again, you see not only how people engage with the software on their own, but you see the group think. And we have one of the best moderators on the planet, Barry Anderson. He's there, and he literally holds everybody's hand. So there's just the kind of experience that you get nowhere else. Plus, of course,
Yeah, if you squint your eyes, it says online 162. That's up to about 390, 400 people now, and this wasn't that long ago that we only had 160 in the room. So the word's definitely getting out. I'll call your attention to the chat window. If you leave early or you missed the link, there's a link in the chat window that'll just click there, sign up. It's free, and you can go in and you can start seeing in real time how the Trade Ideas platform and suite is being used, how other people are using it, and how they're also sharing their different configuration settings with each other, which is something Dan will touch on later, which is a really cool feature of the program.
Yeah, Steve, maybe one thing you can do is you can drop a couple of those links into the chat of the webinar so that people can click on it and they can get signed up for the room. Again,
that's what I did. Yeah, that's what I did. The chat window already has, it's got that link in there right now. So if you're able to get in that window, you can create a free username and you can be in there tomorrow and see in real time some of this really high alpha stuff that's being caught and performed on by the traders in the room. Not only Barry, but some of the great traders in the room as well. Some really good calls in there, especially the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's the best active in community because it's not paid for. You know, because we have a technology, it allows us to give this out for free because, again, that's not where we make our money. We make our money on the actual technology. The community is part of the experience. And in addition to that, we also have 4 webinars where there's Q&A. We are constantly reiterating and helping people get the most out of the artificial intelligence. And we'll show you how we do that, whether it's through Jamie's studio, where Steve is involved, or myself on Wednesdays with Brad Williams, and again, or on Mondays. We have an ability like no other company for people to get in touch with us and to engage and interact. That's one of our advantages. So again, as we get closer to the end of the PowerPoint part of the presentation, and the best part will begin when you see the actual technology, I just want you guys to see what really encompasses the whole experience. So we have TI Premium subscription with artificial intelligence, real-time data, and charts. That's $1,888 a year. And there's also, I believe, a monthly option that's on the price table for $188 as well. What's included in that, okay, is your one-on-one training session with someone like Steve or Jamie or Andy. I mean, people with serious experience and, of course, again, the ability to help you really get on the right path. Our continued support, as well as the trading room, which easily costs $1,200 a year. All of that is free. So this is the ballpark. You have $3,500 worth of annual platform access, starting at just $99 for our basic product, or $888 a year, and all the way up to $188 and $1,888 a year for the premium product. And again, we'll show you all those links. We're also very active on social media. My personal Twitter handle is Trade Ideas 1. I'm constantly sharing ideas and engaging with people there. Our corporate profile is at Trade Ideas. We also are very active on Facebook and Instagram. Please like us. That would be very helpful. And here are the emails. If you ever need any kind of information on what you're hearing today, or just want to get in touch and ask us specific questions, as well as calling. So,
hey Dan, real quick, I'm seeing some people having trouble accessing the chat window. It's on the toolbar. Everybody should have a basic floating island toolbar for the go-to meeting, and there's a line item with a plus key. If you hit that plus key where it says chat, that should open up the chat window. If not, I apologize. I'll try and answer your questions individually, and I'll drop the link into your questions individually.
Right. No, Steve, I definitely see it. And again, it's like Steve said, if it's a plus next to the chat, you need to press that plus, make it a minus, and then it will expand. And that should, it's the button is on the lower left-hand corner underneath the handouts on the left side of that floating toolbar. Okay, Steve, so let's jump into the real presentation.
Good stuff.
Yeah, let me exit out of this. And again, we may come back to it, but everyone, I want to make sure, is everyone able to see my screen? Steve, you, of course, as well.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So everybody, this is the live Trade Ideas technology. This is the software, and where you are on is the premium artificial intelligence channel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly kind of give you an idea of how it all works and what happens and what you would have seen today. So let's start with this window. All of Trade Ideas windows that you can grab, you can move around. So this window is part of the AI channel. Steve, tell Wendy that again. Wendy, if you send us an email to info@trade-ideas.com or click on that link that Steve did, you'll be fine. So this window right here is like your control center, and every morning it starts flat because again, our artificial intelligence does not ride on being long Facebook at the IPO and still being in it. Every morning it's flat and it exits every morning, but you don't have to, and we'll explain all of that. So today there were, there were 3 long strategies and 3 short strategies. These strategies were there and were part of the AI because they met a certain back testing and strategy requirement. We do all of that rigorous practice that we talked about in the presentation to go over every possible scenario and what can and can't be exploited. And we see, well, where are the statistics? Again, it's the same thing as the MIT card counting team in Las Vegas. And we have different names for these kind of exploits. One is called Tailwind. It's basically a strategy. And it tested 72% successful. So today, that strategy, that Tailwind, had 3 trades, and every single one of those trades happened to have been profitable. And it made a total of $2.04 if you held it all day, or $1.25 if you took the strategy exactly word for word. The next strategy was a short. So one of the beautiful things, Steve, that people often don't realize is that Holly and our artificial intelligence doesn't just tell you what to do only on the buy side, it also gives you opportunities on the sell side. And if you don't see those, then you're missing a lot of the opportunities that are out there. So you want to be exposed and be open to, again, going in both directions if you want to succeed in the market. Because imagine if you happen to have been on the right side of the market in 2008 when it was falling. Like in that movie, The Big Short, that's what those guys did. The Big Short is being on the right side of the market. Okay? So, and again, all of this was live today. None of this was simulated. It was just one of those things that when you've got the best technology, you can have, not every day is like this, and we would never even pretend that that would be the case. But my goodness, Steve, when we catch it, I mean, we catch it pretty darn good.
You know, I was talking to Dan, another partner, the other day about how Holly handled the volatility of the Brexit. Basically, she went to the sidelines and took the position of cash as a position. When I, the AI, artificial intelligence, do not see a statistical edge, I will sit on my hands, and that is a great demonstration. And then all of a sudden, the smoke cleared, the rain went away, the clouds opened, the ions were in the air, and she had 2 really nice back-to-back days as we had very nice, statistically sound trend bouncing off that volatile low that Holly did not even participate in, and when everybody else was panicking.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was I loved it because one of the things that you guys have to understand that all these strategies, and this is the thing that maybe kind of goes unsaid, Steve, but we need to really make sure people understand it. So out of these 6 strategies, we didn't put them in here. They were put in automatically by the AI. They were created by the AI. And in fact, right now, while you and I are all talking, the AI is in our server room crunching this intense data that happened today and comparing it to yesterday and the day before and the Brexit day and basically going back a quarter and looking at approximately 1 million different possibilities of what could have been done that was even viable, and then seeing where are the best odds. And this is where it's on. So there were 6 strategies, but only 4 fired. There were 2 other short strategies that never saw the light of day, which is, again, something that can happen. So this is the kind of environment that our premium customers saw today. You know, this all started blank. All of these were at 0, and then it started. So let's look at, I'm going to go over here, Steve, to the entry times. And this is how I have this sorted. So the market opened, and the first trade that came in was a long in a strategy called support is that you for this stock, FCPT. So this is what...
Which, by the way, is one of my favorite strategies, because when you start to break those down and look at them, they are the perfect contrarian type entries to battle today's noisy markets. Rather than buying breakouts, this one's buying more the bottom end of the support channel as identified by the artificial intelligence.
It's exactly right. You know, so many people just learn one thing to chase momentum, and that's one of the reasons why saber-toothed tigers became extinct. You know, they were very good hunters, but the problem is the world around them evolved to make their saber-tooths not very usable. This is why we say you have to be able to be open to things that you may have not heard about before. So this kind of exploit, this statistical exploit, is exactly why we succeed more than others, because instead of trying to find this move right here where it's really breaking out, our software is counting these moves and says, hey, statistically speaking, boom, it bounced, it bounced, it bounced. This looks pretty good for a bounce, and here we go. So that was the first trade in FCPT. And what's interesting, Steve, is we only made 8 cents in it, and it ended up going up 23 cents. But the reason that we only made 8 cents is because our software not just only gets you in, but it really tries to keep your profit. Once you have some profit, it's very important for the software logic, the way the AI was created and what we put in her mind. To her, closing the profit is much more important than trying to see if it'll run further. So it's a capital conservation, Steve, is built in. You know, if you want to trade around it, people are welcome, and they do. And that's the other thing. The AI is not a green light, red light system. It's the statistical play. And the question is, how can you take advantage of it? Of course, you can follow it literally, and your results can be very, very good, but you can do better as well. And we teach you how to do that in the trading room, in the webinars, and everywhere else. But I'm going to show you a couple of other things as we go through the other trades. So the other trade was AMBA. Okay, this was another one of these moves, Steve, that is very contrary to how people see things. You know, when someone sees a stock like this coming down, their instinct is, especially on a day like this, their instinct is what? Their instinct is to, oh, it's time for a short. But on the statistical side, that's not at all what's happening. So we play the statistics. We don't play what looks good to your eyes. It's a numbers game, not a visual game. Remember that a lot of people look up at the clouds and they see horses and angels, and you look at bark and you could see Jesus. So our eyes, again, they're very cool, but they're not really built for chart pattern recognition visually. The next one, Ample. Look at this. I mean, Steve, can it get any better?
That's a good looking entry.
Well, and again, remember I said we're wealth hacking here. We're going to show you something that that you haven't seen. We're trying to show you that the way that money is made is most likely not what you're hearing about from other people. Because other people...
You know what I thought was interesting, Dan? I hate to jump ahead here, but you probably saw the conversation today in the live trading room. We had a new person in there that says, well, I just don't understand why Holly bought Wage. And it was one of the better trades that we had today. And I replied by saying that's the whole idea, is what Dan is saying. You're not seeing what Holly is seeing. But if we wanted to break the trade down, and we did, it was still a decent statistical trade. But the whole point is, yeah, your eyeballs don't always show you the whole picture, and you cannot dive even near as deep as this technology can.
So, Steve, one of the interesting things is, you know, and we hear this all the time, Daniel VD just said, can you put moving averages on your charts? And the answer is right now, no, and you also don't need them. There's nothing that moving averages do to help you that you can't see visually. I can look at Wage on a daily chart, and I can instantly see that it has a rising moving average. Probably a rising 20-day moving average, a rising 50-day moving average, also a rising 200-day moving average. Steve, would you agree?
Oh, yes.
So again, you can answer, remember what that slide that I showed you guys, that don't be a prisoner of your own mind? You don't need all the crap that's been thrown at you for the, you know, since 1970. All the technical indicators that have been put into these systems, none of them work. If they did, they would be included in the artificial intelligence and it would use them. But it doesn't. We have our own data inside. We don't need to have Kelter channels or stochastics or MACDs. We're evolving. That's why Mark Zuckerberg does not have a rotary phone. Even though I'm sure if he had one, he would be able to use it to call somebody. When you're asking for technical indicators on charts, you're asking for the why, or as my daughter would call it, it's a little bit of a whoopee. And again, the reason that we go clean, that's one of the other things that makes us the fastest growing subscription service. What people realize very quickly, Steve, is it's so much better looking at clean charts because your actual pattern recognition skills begin to work versus when you're starting to look at a chart that's full of lines, your eyes actually and your subconscious mind, they don't know the difference between a line and a candle. It's just looking at more stuff. That's it. So
I think that's a great exercise too, to put up a chart and take off the indicators and look through about 100 or 200 of them. Yeah. You'll start to see things that you may not have noticed that you've seen before. Right. And it's almost like strengthening a muscle in there, No,
well, they distract you. I mean, and that's, I think, part of like the ruse. I really believe the whole technical analysis business, and again, we started there. We used them. I mean, we've been doing this since 1996. The problem is none of those things are actually deterministic by themselves. You can have an RSI that is high and the stock goes up and keeps going up. In fact, the RSI on Yahoo was probably over 100 for like 4 years on a daily chart, in the 1990s. They don't do anything because it's relativity. Everything is relative to what's happening right now. Fundamental data also, is it important? Yes. And do we use it? By the way, yes, when it is significant. Our AI looks at price data, fundamental data, and social data to come up with the exploit that gives you the signal to jump on. So we go through the broadest of the data points. And what happens here is, when we find interesting situations, the technology alerts you to something, and then you can see the bigger picture, and you can give yourself some information. Like, for example, you can really like this wage and say, blue skies. This is a part of our premium technology that allows you to alert yourself on anything that the artificial intelligence has done so that when you zoom out, you can really see. Steve, if this thing goes above here, it's kind of off to the races.
Well, and that brings up another point. People talk about, well, this really seems like, Dan, it's only a day trading vehicle. Well, what about swing trading?
Yeah, no, we often say
there's your chart. That's my point. There's your chart. It's up to you. It's a great idea generation for the entry, but the exit and the management of the trade really is up to the trader.
Yeah, this is the best that you can do. And we have, again, not only is this AI giving you signals all throughout the day and you watch it. So again, the reason I had sorted this by time frame is just so that you can see these were the signals that came out. This is what they looked like. This one was a short sell. By the way, the arrow is not exactly price indicative. It was at 1838. Right at that blue area right here. That's the short. It was a beautiful trade, and the whole this one was I know the room participated in it, so it was really a very nice one to see. And here at the very end, what a beautiful move. Again, even though the system actually caught a relatively small amount of it because it was so risk averse, but if you held to the close, which again you had the ability to, look at that move, look at that percentage jump. It's just incredible. And this is what we want you to be aware of. But of course, it's beyond that. There's a routine to it. So you're seeing the AI channel. The way that people interact with the data is you start in the morning with the pre-market. And in the pre-market, you can see what's gapping up, what's gapping down. Everything's already done for you. If you want to see what's being talked about on social media, we have a channel for that. So all of these stocks are the stocks that are just being talked about in an unusual amount. And we dissect the data so you can see it just in terms of pure social activity, negative sentiment social activity or positive sentiment social activity. Surge, when today's data comes at you so fast, it's faster than you can process spreadsheets and fundamental data. Information is being leaked about cancer trials. Things are moving very quickly, and the way we spot them is by watching volume. So when all of a sudden a surge takes place on the volume side, we instantly see that and we take advantage. So again, we have a channel just for that. Someone had asked about options.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to say that. I'm hoping that person's still in attendance because they have a great options channel here for anything you'd want to do, which primarily focuses on the put and call volumes with a few other things mixed in. But again, I'll call your attention to the live trading room. Barry has a lot of alerts that he uses that focus on the options volume, and then we're trading the stocks as the proxy to what's going on in the explosive options pits.
Right, and
but this is a great channel.
Well, right, and you can here again, you can quickly see which stock has the most unusual activity, and if you're a big options player, you will know how to do the strategy that you need to know, and you'll want to know that this is the activity, this is the level of activity in the stock. And again, you can slice it and dice it in almost any way that you want. Again, sectors. Do you know what's in play? How is it in play? What's winning? What's losing? All this is available at the click of a button. And again, look at the amount of channels there are. From fundamental data, if you want to dissect things on earnings per share or just in general, what we look at as where the alpha is hidden as it relates to fundamental data. And if you want to see quickly what's going on, well, what does this thing do? Like, I've never heard of this symbol. What's communication, sales, and leasing? You can quickly find out right away. The idea is that speed is your friend, and we give you all the tools to, again, think less and get into the zone and just quickly decide, okay? And the beauty is you can do something at night that almost nobody else can do. So here you can see these stocks, and I can just make notes to myself, like I'm doing right here. Love it. So I can notate anything, and this notation is an alert. It's an alert that says, when this thing crosses 30, let me know. But unlike every other system, our technology, and I'll show it to you how it works in a minute, not only takes these alerts, but it simulates that you made a trade in them. So all of your swing trades become practice trades. And you can follow the P&L of your own trades to see how well you do. Okay? That's the beauty of what we're doing, and you have to have the data around you to be able to do it, and that's our advantage. We're the most data-rich software technology company as it relates to capturing alpha and helping people find opportunities in the market, opportunities that you can take advantage of. Again, biotechs. Just, you can kind of quickly see that the things that are moving, they've been already done for you. Okay, Barry has his own channel. Not only is he our moderator, but his technology, and he's one of the most avid configurers of the software. He has his own channel, so you can quickly see what are the things that really fit his kind of criteria. And of course, like the very basics of just things that are up, dissected in every which way possible. And of course, at the same time, things that are down, dissected in every which way possible. Look at the color and the richness of the data that you're seeing. It's not just for color's sake. If you become a client, you really learn that there's significant advances of data manipulation and getting you to kind of have the better feel for what's about to take place. Like, again, I can see a move like INFI, see that it's down for the month, but it's actually moving up today based on this graph. So I already have preconceived notions of what I'm trying to do. This would be a bounce play, and as you can see.
So Dan, after you set your alerts that you like, you see the data come up, you look at the footprints on the sand in the charts, and then you set your alerts. What does it look like when the alert comes to us in real time?
So let me show you. So here is my alert window, and these are all the different alerts that I have set. They're in this state called working. So these are the things that I have in the market right now that I am thinking about, that these are my own custom things. And by the way, for every subscriber, I share all of my alerts. All of our alerts are shareable. I share them with everybody who asks me that is a subscriber of the Trade Ideas service. So all of these can be yours. But the ones that have actually already taken place, and by the way, Steve, I don't know if you know, but I cleared the plate.
Yeah, you did. That's what you should do. You got to start fresh.
So I took Steve's advice. I had actually started doing this in February and had gotten my limit alerts up to over 300 points. But Steve said, you know, there's just too much stuff. And again, obviously I have a good eye, but I wanted to just reprove everything. And so I started over, and here are how my swing trades are doing. Obviously, again, this gives you the feedback that this works.
Yeah, markets are always changing. The only thing constant is change, and so it's my philosophy to use this as a teaching tool, you know, to anybody, including myself, going forward. That, you know, the markets can change on a dime. What worked in February might not work in May, and so I try and mix it up with some shorts. I try and mix it up with some breakout alerts. I try and mix it up with some pullback alerts, and so, you know, in the end, you can look at the end of the month and go, okay, well, I'm still seeing things clearly. Let's see if we can do this again next month. Clear it out and start again next month. That's my method.
No, Steve, I mean, you're absolutely right. And that's the thing, like, because you have this P&L tracking, remember guys, nobody else has this. So you put in these trades, these concepts are just your ideas. We give you the feedback. This goes back to the Malcolm Gladwell and the practicing and the expertise and the 10,000 hours. When you do stuff at Trade Ideas, like for example, and again, I'll just switch from triggered to working. So I'm going to add an alert for something. Let's take a look at something that we may or may not like. Okay, by the way, Steve, I like it. Look at this one.
Okay.
LPCN. What the heck does it do? By the way, so let's look at this. I can right click here and I can send LPCN to a single stock window. So now, in case I want to know what it is, of course, it's a pharmaceutical preparation company, probably making something for cancer. Probably. Lower dosing. Okay, it's a different type of product, but these companies, this is where alpha hides. So let me talk just real quick about that. So huge gap down, something terrible, but it's trying to recover. So I don't want to speculate on anything specific, but let's say it goes above this high of 361. It is void time. So what that means is, so it means it's starting to fill this kind of gap void. Guys, there's 100% here between 3 and 6. This is the kind of math that we're working on. We're not working on the math of is the RSI 80 or the RSI 20. We're looking at the math of like, oh, the distance between 3 and 6, that's 100%. I'd like to be in there. If this thing turns around and look at the huge volume, right? Again, we don't know. It could just start coming right back down, but we only care once it crosses this path. So once we're at this trigger point, it will be ready. So now I can just expand my list, scroll down, and here it is. It's ready. As soon as it goes, I have a price that this thing will simulate the entry in right here, and it will follow it for me. And I will know. So again, there's no better teaching aid. It's the whole package with us. You get the ideas, you get the ability to work with the ideas, and you get the ability to train yourself with the people and let the technology do you. This is like basically man and machine merging. We're not having, you know, this is not HFT trading where you're playing golf and Holly's out there battling the markets for you. That's not how this works, because the market is not evolved that way. The market takes advantage of those things. The human is still needed. And you interact with it. Again, the human is still involved. In fact, it's time for the human to take something back from the HFTs. That's what we're here to do.
Hey, Dan, go back to the AI channel real quick. I want to remind you and people who may not know, yesterday was a very interesting trade.
Yeah, let me
a small stock called.
So, Steve, we have a cloud. So this is something. Yeah. So just like all the companies, Amazon and everybody else, we have a cloud where you can save all of your windows to the cloud, and anywhere you are, you can just load them. So here I have this special webinar that created for this presentation. I can go to load. Hello. And here we go. And all of my windows. come
Yeah,
right
not
in.
only can you use that for yourself, but you can use that to share and collaborate with other people, which is happening all the time in the live trading room. But if you'll type in the symbol GBR, yesterday we had quite a nice trade with Miss Holly in GBR. Matter of fact, she was in at 172,
Yeah,
which was the beginning of, I believe, an 80% move. You
yeah.
get some really incredible percentage moves, and that's one of the things when I see Holly kick a trade out under $5, I pay double close attention because when they work, they work. And let me tell you, yesterday on social media, if you guys go back and do a search on social media, which for GBR, you'll see people and traders and chat rooms coming out and saying, hey, we're on to GBR, but it's always like $2.10 above. They were all getting long in the $2 level. Holly had spotted this really early at $1.72. So we were real proud of her. I think we were one of the earlier calls on this great trade that was happening in a lot of different trading rooms yesterday.
Well, Steve, I think that's one of the things that people really need to understand is we're powering a lot of the educational tools out there, and that's the advantage. But not everyone has the AI because the AI has only been around since January. So you here, you're early adopters, and you really should take advantage. It's only been out since January, and it's getting better and better. So yesterday was one of our, I was going to say it was our best statistical day, but actually today was better, Steve. It's just that yesterday we had the best single statistical trade of GBR where we closed out 43% for our investors. So from 172 to 265, I believe. It was just crazy. So again, this was today 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trades, 9 positive, 10, 1 negative. And again, remember, unlike the market, we start from scratch. So Steve, I'm going to answer, let's go into the question and answer section, and then I'll finish off with a couple of more elements from the website just to help people on-ramp. So
before you do that, just wanted to highlight again, you've got two columns there, closed profit and non-exit profit. The closed profit was what Holly took. The non-exit profit is a lot higher. Again, to remind people that the idea generation is where the real value of this tool comes in. Once the trade is open and active, our AI has to exit on a expired shot clock, so to speak. She doesn't take things home, but you, the trader, have the ability to put your trader's hat on, and if you see a stock that Holly's in and you're in and it's closing, or I shouldn't say closing, she is getting ready to expire on the shot clock and close the trade because the time stop is approaching, and that trade is still at highs with room to move higher, those are the kind of situations you need to kick yourself and say, maybe I just want to sell half here and see if there's more on the plate. But that non-exit profit really demonstrated today how a lot of times there's more meat on the bones than is actually displayed by Holly with her timed stop exits.
that's right, and people do trade around. And one of the things, Steve, I mean, without getting into due details, remember, all these numbers are changing in real time. So what happens is we took a 16-cent loss on this OSIS trade, but when it went from 16, and this, you would have seen this in real time, go from 16 to, I think it went as low as 20, maybe 25, but then it went back to 16 and then 8, and then it turned to 0, which basically validates this trade to begin with. Look at what happened. I mean, this is another example of the beauty, Steve, of statistics, right? We try so hard to get it perfect, but perfection is impossible. But look at what happened. We give you the data, so you're following this the whole time. One of the biggest problems we've ever had, and you know this, Steve, is you get into a trade, you get out of the trade, and then you forget the trade. Why do you forget the trade? Because nothing is there to keep an eye on it. This innovation in and of itself is one of the biggest things that can help you become a better performer in the market. The fact that you could keep an eye on the things that you are in, whether it's the things that you select on our price alerts or the things that the AI suggests for you. So, Steve, let's go over Priceline and HSBC real quick. HSBC, and we'll put in some price alerts for everybody there. Okay, let me zoom.
The question was, could you demonstrate your system using HSBC and Priceline? Well, they didn't really come up on any proprietary scans, but what we can do is look at them and dissect them as possible levels of interest that Dan's going to show how to call to our attention when the time comes.
Okay, so without any moving averages and without any indicators, I will tell you that HSBC is one of these kinds of instruments that you have to have a little bit of volatility tolerance. I mean, look at this behavior as it's basically mimicking exactly what you see in the Brexit. So if you were honestly asking me what I would do with HSBC at this point, I mean, I would say kind of nothing, okay? So HSBC would not be something that our system would specifically point out, because it's not that it can't go from 30 to 34, you know. The real interesting level would be right here for us. So, and I'm going to call it, so the price is 34.89. Very interesting. That's just how I'm going to label it. Okay, and I'm going to say right here, this is the level that I would start thinking about possibly getting into the stock. That means it's digested all of this, and this volume is like a turnaround kicker. But I don't want to play with it in this channel because of all of these voids. Hopefully that makes sense. And by the way, again, this alert for HSBC, now that it's in there, it'll be shared with everyone. Let's move on to Priceline. Okay, so Priceline is almost a FANG stock. Number one, it's very expensive, and it makes very little sense for individuals to trade because of its price. Most people just don't have the kind of accounts to make Priceline a worthwhile, you know, attention investment. Steve, wouldn't you agree? It's not that I don't like the movements in it, but it's just that, again, I mean, what are you going to be doing? Buying a share? 2 shares?
Yep.
You know, I would again, as a teacher, I would avoid that. Okay, because why would you waste your time on this? And again, I'm not saying it can't go from 1,200 to 1,400, but there's so much volatility, so much voidness. Look at this. Okay, much safer for investors, has a lot of volume, and is really starting to potentially test this high before. And if it breaks out of this, it could run another 4 points. I mean, the float on this stock is very small. So this thing could really go. So I would tell you, you know, if it, I mean, it's Steve, it's kind of already gone, right? I mean,
one thing that comes to mind for me is usually after that first move, a lot of the stocks, 80% of them are just going to die and just fall back to, you know, the dark side of the moon, the other side of the mountain. But this one is special. It actually broke out of that propensity for most stocks to just kind of fizzle off after that one big move, made a secondary move,
yep,
dug in again, built another base camp even higher, and it's still moving. This thing has legs, and it's very impressive because it didn't fizzle out like 80% of the time these things will do on these stocks under 5. So this one's been on our radar, and we've been all over it in the live trading room.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Again, what's interesting, I'm, by the way, in this, and I'm in it like at 320. Just so that you know. And the thing for me is right now it's so exciting, but you almost have to give it like back to 350. You know, it could really go like, I mean, and so I would say right here, like right at this level, let's call it 336. I'm going to say literally what I think. Maybe add some size, and then I'm going to change this to long. Notice again, for your alerts, you can really set them up. Okay, so here I have this. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for it to come back to me. Okay, so Lee, I know you said you could buy options, but again, that's not what this webinar is about. It's about stocks. And again, for options players, I mean, there's tons of other stuff, but we're in a much different game. We're more interested on the stock side. So let's look at Apple. Again, it's one of the stocks that I tell people, you know, it used to be so expensive that it was almost prohibitive, but now it's kind of interesting. I actually love it here, you know, and I think that it's going to fill this void and continue higher. So so it's already kind of started. Now, of course, Apple will react to the overall market. So if you look at this area right here and this area right here, there is a complete correlation to it. So what you kind of want to see is Apple getting interesting above this level. Getting interesting now. Okay, and again, I hope you understand why I'm saying that. It's because right here, there's just too much of this. It really needs to get back above this area where this whole little information was digested. Mike, 100%. I mean, you don't need that much time. That's the thing.
Yeah, Mike, you should drop by the live trading room. I'm going to drop the link in on your questionnaire box again, because if you're not, that's really where most of the action is occurring every day.
Um, yeah, I mean, in my mind, I don't believe in the words day trading. I don't believe in the word swing trading. I'm really here to capture alpha. And I hate confining myself to words. I mean, we do that in our politics and everywhere else, and it really doesn't help you in investing. You need to be open and flexible. The more open and flexible you are, the better it is for you. Because again, then you're able to just participate on any one side. Couple of things to note, and again, I'm going to start winding down, Steve. We got 4 minutes. So a couple of things to note. We introduced you to the world's only artificial intelligence that is working live, it's winning, and it's for the individual investor. Okay, this is the world's only one. Okay, that's all that that you can hope to have. Again, the best that you can do. But we also showed you that it's encapsulated with all of the support that you get from Trade Ideas. The software, like how much does it actually cost? So I'm here, I'm on the website, so you can see this is the actual prices of the software and what's included and what's not included. So that again, everything is very, very, very clear. Our homepage has a lot of links and very easy for you to navigate and to kind of see. I mean, there's really a simple way to learn anything that you need about the product. I mean, from the channel bar and understanding what it does to what the channels are and how the AI works. All the information is available for you. I mean, this is we're a technology vendor, and that's what we really specialize in. In terms of the trading room, and I'm going to go here and say Trade Ideas Support. So this is forums.trade-ideas.com. Click here to enter the trading room. It'll take you through a sign-up process. It's free. It's free to everybody, and we really do encourage you to take advantage. It's such, again, it's free, and it talks about our technology. So it's an incredible place where everybody shares. Steve, I'm going to really pop the slide back on right here and give you guys the areas of how we can be reached: Twitter, Facebook, email, telephone. You got everything that you need from us. And again, this is the new way to participate in the stock market. This is wealth hacking. Okay? That's what we are here to do. It's time to kind of forget about the buy and hold and the technical analysis and value investing. There's no such thing. It's about smart statistical speculation.
A perfect world would be a world where people take 15 or 20% of their nest egg retirement and get involved and work with it a little bit. Typically, depending on what your age is, you're going to have that percentage carved out for a bit more volatile type action, a bit more aggressive type stuff. So, it's not a matter of putting your entire nest egg in there, but I think in a perfect world, I would see people getting involved in 10 to 15% of their retirement and trying to look for that extra alpha.
It's so key because it also teaches you how the whole market works and what you can expect from the financial system. And it's the things that help you not sell out when your financial advisor calls you and tells you, oh my God, England is leaving the European Union. You sell your 401k, and then 2 days later, that whole thing is right back where it started. Avoid that by being active. Be involved. That's what we're here to do, to help you be involved and to introduce you to a new way to think about stocks with artificial intelligence. All right, everyone, I want to thank you all for coming. This webinar is going to be taped, so you will have all the information you need. And I think, Steve, do we send out a support?
Yeah, it'll be a follow-up email. You'll probably see a follow-up email tomorrow on this, giving you a link to the recorded video.
Okay. All right, everyone, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. We're grateful, and we hope you take a look. And again, hope to see you in the markets. And good luck, good trading, and let's capture some alpha.
Good night.
Good night.